Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha
Krishna Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, entitled Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 8, Dhruva Maharaj leaves home. And we're on text 81. He leaves home for the forest. So what's the meter for this one? Okay. Deva Uchuhu Naivam Vidamo Bhagavan Prana Rodham Chara Charasyai Kila Satvadamnaha Videhitanno Vrijjinan Vimoksham Prapta Vayam Tvang Sharanam Sharanyam Deva Uchuhu Naivam Vidamo Bhagavan Pranabrodham Vedehitanno Chara Charasyai Kila Satvadamnaha Videhitanno Vrijjanad Vimoksham Prapta Vayam Tvam Sharanam Sharanyam. Please chant. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna.
Vidamo Bhagavan Pranarodham Characharasya Kila Satpadamnaha Videhitanno Vrijinadva Moksham Prapta Vayam Tvam Sharanam Sharanyam Naivam Vidamo Bhagavan Pranarodham Characharasya Kila Satpadamnaha Videhi Tandro Vijinad Vimoksham Prapta Vayam Tvam Sharanam Sharanyam Naivam Vidamo Bhagavan Pranarodham Characharasya Kila Satpadamnaha Videhi tanno vrijinad vimoksham. Prabhavayam tam sharanam sharanyam. Vidamo bhagavan pranarodham. Characharasya kila satpadam naha. Videhi tanno vrijinad vimoksham. Prabhavayam tam sharanam sharanyam.
Okay, word by word translation. Deva Uchuhu. All the demigods said. Na, not. Evam, thus. Vidamana maha. We can understand. Bhagavan, O personality of Godhead. Prana rodham. How we feel our breathing choked. Chara, moving. Acharasya, not moving. Akila, universal. Sattva, existence. Damnaha, the reservoir of. Videhi, kindly do the needful. Tat, therefore. Naha, our. Vrijinat, from the danger. Vimoksham, liberation. Praptaha, approaching. Vayam, all of us. Tvam, unto you. Sharanam, shelter. Sharanyam, worthy to be taken shelter of. Is this loud enough? Yeah? Everybody thinks so? Okay. All right, translation. Okay. The demigod said, Dear Lord, you are the refuge of all moving and non-moving living entities. We feel all living entities to be suffocating. Their breathing process is choked up. We have never experienced such a thing. Since you are the ultimate shelter of all surrendered souls, we have therefore approached you. Kindly save us from this danger. Purport. Dhruva Maharaj's influence attained by executing devotional service unto the Lord was felt even by the demigods, who had never before experienced such a situation. Because of Dhruva Maharaj's control on his breathing, the entire universal breathing process was choked. It is by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that material entities cannot breathe, whereas spiritual entities are able to breathe. Material entities are products of the Lord's external energy, whereas spiritual entities are products of the Lord's internal energy. The demigods approached the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the controller of both kinds of entities, in order to know why their breathing was choked. The Supreme Lord is the ultimate goal for the solution to all problems within this material world. In the spiritual world there are no problems, but the material world is always problematic. Since the Supreme Personality of God is the master of both the material and spiritual worlds, it is better to approach him in all problematic situations. Those who are devotees, therefore, have no problems in this material world. Vishram Purna Sukhayate. Chaitanya Chandramrita. That's where that's from. Devotees are free from all problems because they are fully surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For a devotee, everything in the world is very pleasing because he knows how to use everything in the transcendental love and service of the Lord. Om Ganatimadandasya Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshula Meditam Minatasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Kam Kadidvachalam Pangam Langai Tegirim Kripadamaham Vande Shri Gurundir Taranam Vancha Kapilbesha Kripasindibivacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The demigod's translation again. The demigod said, "Dear Lord, you're the refuge of all moving and non-moving living entities. We feel all living entities to be suffocating. Their breathing process is choked up. We have never experienced such a thing. Since you are the ultimate shelter of all surrendered souls, we have therefore approached you. Kindly save us from this danger." So it says, those who are devotees therefore have no problems in this material world. The purport. Vishram Purna Sukhayate, they just see everywhere they look it's just happiness, right? There's no problems. That verse from Prabodhananda Saraswati, he says that for a devotee, to merge into the impersonal effulgence is like hellish. It's hellish, rejected. And to enter into the heavenly abodes, that's like sky flowers. And the senses that are very strong, what do you say? Venomous, like snakes ready to bite. They become their teeth are removed. In other words, their senses are under control. And they see Vishram Purna Sukhayate, wherever they look, there's happiness. And that's for one who's got the sidelong glance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right? That's pretty much covers it. Empowered by the sidelong glance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So you can imagine, again, those who are devotees, they have no problems in this world. So of course, you could say it's pure devotees. We're referring to pure devotees. You can imagine ourselves or this world with no problems, or we could try to imagine. And even if automatically when one becomes a devotee, it means when they surrender to Krishna, or when they get initiated, or however you want to look at it, however the idea of becoming a devotee is seen. If immediately they didn't have any problems, we'd see that a lot of the gurus and a lot of the shiksha gurus and a lot of the mentors wouldn't have much business, you know. In other words, because a lot of the problems are taken to gurus and mentors and all that. So we do have, until we reach a certain level of Krishna consciousness, you could say we do have problems. But it's very important that we go to people who don't have the problems we have. If we talk to people about our problems who have the same problems, not much is going to be resolved. In other words, an alcoholic talks to an alcoholic, "Oh, how do I get free of being an alcoholic?" Oh, well, he doesn't know, because he hasn't conquered it. But one who has conquered that can tell you, "Oh, well, I did this, I did that, I went to the AA meetings, and I read certain books, and in this way I overcome my addiction." But I'm addicted to something else. Usually they get addicted to something else. Material. Not all the times, but all the time. So, for example, it's one. I heard that there were two devotees, and one devotee was thinking, "Oh, I'm just fed up with the temple and the management and everything. People, I'm out of here. I want to leave immediately." And he was revealing his mind, right, in confidence. He was having a loving exchange with another like-minded person. That's exactly what he was doing. And then the other person said, "Oh, hey, you know what? I'm fed up too. I agree with you. The temple management, everything's just wrong. Let's get out of here." And then they both left. They both left the temple. And whatever they were doing, and eventually they kind of realized, "Okay, let's go back." And then they went back to the temple. Luckily. No, it was in South Africa. So in other words, one person revealed their problems to a person who had the same problems, and therefore there wasn't any, you could say, he didn't really help them. He just encouraged them to follow in the same, encouraged him to be in Maya. That's practically what he did. So when we say that we should associate with devotees, that is true. But also Rupa Goswami says we should associate with devotees who are more advanced, which means that they're farther down the path and they have conquered certain things that we may not have conquered quite yet. Therefore they could help us. One devotee the other day, they were saying that, oh, well, we hear so much about, associating with devotees and this and that, but to be quite honest, because this devotee lives outside of the temple, to be quite honest, when I try to associate with devotees living outside the temple, they're quite entangled in material life. She's making that point. And whatever that means, that could mean so many things. And I said, well, there's always somebody there, hopefully, that is not so entangled, that could give you good association where you engage in Krishna conscious activities together, but that person was having a hard time finding it. Of course, I'm not saying that about the SanDiego community, that there's no one out there to associate with, obviously. There's many good devotees. But somehow this person was having a hard time. So, and also, so it could be, you could say, disillusioning. Oh, I want to associate with devotees, but they're all in Maya. Or even they were mentioning, even in the holy places, there's so many horrible things. Or people are greedy for money, and there's these abuse of women and all these things. So what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to advance here? So I said, well, that's true. If a devotee invites you, hey, let's hang out, and you're like, okay, well, what do you want to do? Oh, well, first we're going to go down to the local liquor store, and we're going to get some beers, and then we're going to drink the beers, and then we're going to rush off to the movie theater and watch some movie, right? And afterwards, we might go eat at a non-veg restaurant. We'll eat vegetarian food, but, whatever, we'll go there. It's a nice restaurant. No, don't worry. So, so if somebody says it, they may be a devotee. They actually may be a devotee. It's not that they're not devotees, but they're just not strong devotees, or you could say they're materialistic devotees. But, then that's on Friday night, they say that. Then on Sunday, you see them at the Sunday feast, and Hari Bol, and Hari Krishna, and it's good. It's good that they're coming. And But if somebody's not on that level, means if they don't want to be on that level, if they want to rise to a higher level and not, go to the liquor store and pick up beers and go watch the movie and go to the restaurant downtown, then they better associate with somebody else. What to speak if they're initiated? They shouldn't associate with such. So, yes, we need to associate with devotees, but we need to associate with devotees who are stronger than us. So this relates to a devotee being free, having no problems in this world. A pure devotee has no problems in this world. And the value of, you could say, having strong devotees is that we can take shelter of them. Within the system, within certain systems throughout the world, they are mentor systems. So I was joking one day, and the systems are good, and right, you could judge the fruit or the activity by the fruit. So if devotees are feeling encouraged, then wonderful. But I was just joking that you have the mentors and you have the mentees. So the mentees means the people who need help. Mentors also need help, but they get it from other sources. But mentors at least are strong enough to help the mentees. That's the idea. So the mentees will go to the mentor for help. And usually the mentees, at least some point in their life, or sometimes they're a little mental. Mental. They have mental problems. Or they're on the mental platform. Or as in New Zealand, right? Mental means what? Crazy. Maybe the mind's going crazy, God knows what. But whatever it is, they're having mental problems on the mental platform, they go to the mentor. So I was saying that that's all good, but what if the mentee is mental, but also the mentor, what if he becomes mental, or she becomes mental, then it's a problem. So we want to associate with people who are not so easily swayed. Their minds are not so easily swayed into Maya. Which it's actually challenging to find such people, honestly, because it's very difficult to not be swayed. Just like, for example, it happened to be within Christian tradition, or Catholic tradition, that the part of the program is that you go and you confess your sins, right, to the priest. And as far as I understand, you're sitting in the, what do you call it? Pew. And there's a screen right there, so you can't see the priest's face. So you go there and you say, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned." And you go into all whatever you've done, which is like, oh my God, the priest has to hear all this stuff. But you can imagine, some people it's like, okay, like, enough is enough. I don't know how much you could take. So anyways, there was a story, true, where a woman, she would go and confess to the priest. And she would do this regularly, as they do, because a lot of them, they can't give up their sin, which Prabhupada criticized actually heavily. He said, why aren't the religions teaching their followers how to be sinless? They have to teach them how to be sinless. Yeah, they need that higher. So, pleasure. So anyway, she was going there regularly, confessing her sins, and it happened to be in a sexual light, her particular sins. So then the priest, the father, he had a hard time, hearing all of that. He had a hard time with his mind. His mind was, you could say, easily swayed, which in some ways you could say, well, it could be very easily swayed by such things. So he was having a hard time. So then he somehow, he knew who it was, because he could see her, as far as I understand, but she can't see him. The priest could see the confessors, but the confessor can't see the priest. So it just happened after time, after such a build-up, he just, went off and he got into a relationship with this woman. So the point is that we have to take shelter in somebody who's not so easily swayed, like this priest was. In other words, someone who's strong. The Bhagavatam says they're, Brahmanishtam. They're fixed in spiritual, in the spiritual consciousness. And we have to bring our problems to somebody who could actually solve them. And in reality, you could say, is quite complex, and it's actually challenging to understand, and you could say quite mysterious in many ways. And as humans, it's actually our business. It's actually our main business is to try to understand that, try to be in knowledge, and from that knowledge to engage in service to Krishna. So it's not that we're just developing knowledge, but we're developing knowledge with the goal of finding the root of existence, which is Krishna, and then to engage in a loving relationship. So, and the fact is that everybody is asking so many questions. The whole world is just full of questions, right? How much, people go to the liquor store, how much is that pack of cigarettes there? Or we go to the donut shop, how much is that donut? Can I have that one? It's just full of questions. Go to the university and they're teaching them so many different things, right? well, what happened in 1842 and whatever, this place or that place. So many questions are there, full of questions. So, but unfortunately, very few are asking the most important questions. Sometimes we dress like this, and people, they may stop us. Oh, are you a Buddhist? Are you a monk? And they ask us some questions. So, so there happened to be this. There's this restaurant. It's called the Iron Pig. Certainly, they probably. Anyways, it's like a non-vegetarian restaurant, and so I was like taking a walk up. Sometimes I walk up that street, Faneuil, up the hill there, and I was taking a walk and chanting japa. Then I see this guy kind of rush by in the car, and then he stops, and then he says, "Hey, man," and I was thinking, oh, maybe he's going to ask me something like spiritual question, something important. He said, "Hey, man, did you order something from Iron Pig?" I said, no, I didn't. And I was out here in front of the temple, and again, some guy was walking by, and I thought, okay, maybe he's going to ask me something. He stopped me, and then he said, "Oh, do you know where the Urban Leaf is?" So Urban Leaf, they sell pot, sell marijuana. I said, no, sorry, I don't know. So, in other words, you don't go to a monk or a sage or a saintly person or anything with mundane concerns or questions, but you go with spiritual questions. And that's important that we keep that in mind, because although we may be surrounded by Krishna, which literally we are. I mean, everywhere you look, there's Krishna, especially here in the temple. I mean, just look around. There's Krishna everywhere. In the altar, there's Krishna everywhere. So, and there's devotees, I could say almost everywhere, here around the temple. So, although we may be surrounded by devotees, we may not be asking the right questions, or we may not be inquisitive at all. And that's a problem. And we shouldn't think it's cute on our part, our ignorance. We shouldn't think, I'm cool, or I'm cute, or no, it's just ignorant. For a child, like I spoke with my nephew briefly last night, and he said, "Oh, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm just sitting here, hanging out." And he said, "Oh, you're laying around?" I said, No, I'm not laying around. I said, "I'm just sitting here." I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I don't know." So it may be cute for a child to say that they don't know what they're doing, but for a grown man or a grown woman to say they don't know what they're doing with their life, that's actually quite pathetic. Srila Prabhupada, he went to, in San Francisco, he went to a place called Morningstar Ranch. Does anyone remember what that was?
Yeah. That was a place that a commune, early Buddhist had
Yeah, it was a naked ranch. Means everybody had the option. I don't know if everybody actually did it, but probably a lot of them did it because it was in the 60s and 70s, so I would think a lot of them were doing it. Yeah. So, and it was a nude ranch. So, our Srila Prabhupada, he went there. Amazing. I mean, nowadays you can imagine if one of our swamis went to a nude ranch. Oh, they'd be all over the internet. Oh, look how bogus this swamis went to. I mean, Prabhupada did some far out things. I mean, just imagine one of them. I mean, you could say, of course you could say, Prabhupada's from the spiritual world and all that. But anyways, whatever. So he went there. It's in the Lilamrita. So when you read the Lilamrita, you'll see that. So he was there, and amazingly enough, he went there and he spoke and he led kirtan and everything. Some devotees came out of there. They left the ranch, went to San Francisco, joined. But so when Prabhupada arrived there, there was a man, naked, and he was picking potatoes. And then Prabhupada said, he looked at him very seriously. He said, "What are you doing?" And then the man said, "Oh, Swamiji, I'm picking potatoes." You know? And then Prabhupada said, No. He said, "What are you doing with your life?" And then the guy was just kind of silent. He didn't know what to say. He didn't say anything. You know? May have joined later, but he did. Oh, okay. There you go. He joined later. There you go. So, so he joined. So yeah, it may be, in some people's eyes, cute or cool or rad. You know, like he thought it was, oh, I'm cool. I'm naked picking potatoes. You know, how cool is this? But from a Krishna conscious point of view, it's everybody's just wasting their time. From a Krishna conscious point of view. So, so therefore, this ignorance that we may have to some degree has to be removed. And this is removed by the process of Krishna consciousness, and specifically by the process of surrender. Because by surrender, one's ignorance is removed, surrender to the Guru, surrender to Krishna, surrender is removed, and by this surrender, all problems are solved. We don't have any more problems. So the surrendering process is a process, but it is a process that everyone has to choose to undertake. And it is a process in which one becomes controlled by Krishna. And this control is a loving control. It is not a control of a master and a slave. It is not a control of a exploitative boyfriend to the girlfriend or exploitive girlfriend to the boyfriend. It is not a control of a mundane boss towards his co-workers, or on and on and on. It is a control, a loving control, in which the distorted reflection is, for example, a mother and a child in this world. When the child goes to touch the fire, the mother will say, "Stop, you cannot touch the fire." So the mother is controlling the child. That's exactly what she's doing. Someone would say, "Oh, hey, let the boy do whatever he wants. Let him touch if he wants to touch the fire, just let him touch the fire." Right? I mean, some people have all types of crazy ideas nowadays of how they should raise their children, but let him, so let him touch the fire. No, you don't let him touch the fire. You say, "Stop." I mean, there was a case where Srila Prabhupada, his son, he was very interested in touching the spinning fan. He wanted to put his finger in the fan. So then Srila Prabhupada's friend at the time, he said, "Okay, what you do, Babu, what you do is you unplug the fan, and when it's slowing down, you let your son put his hand in there." I mean, it's not going fast. It's not going to violently hurt him or something. So that's what Prabhupada did. He said, "Okay," unplugged it, and then the fan was, and then he said, "Okay, son, do it." And then he put his hand in and hit his finger. Probably cried. But he realized, okay, I shouldn't do this again, right? But you could say in general, especially with fire, I mean, Prabhupada's not going to let his child touch fire. I mean, that's like very... What happens is the child will, the mother will protect the child, guide. Now, of course, if we are so adamant, if we are so foolish that we want to mess around with material energy, Krishna will say, "Okay, fine, what can I do? I've been trying to guide you for so long, and you're just so adamant to engage in material nature. Okay, fine, go get burnt. Go get hurt, and then I'm here when you're ready. When you're ready not to be a foolish child, I'm here." So we are controlled. We're either controlled by Maya or we're controlled by Krishna. So everybody, you could say, is dancing to Krishna's tune or dancing to Maya's tune, right? We cannot not dance. Everybody's dancing. So we want to dance to Krishna's tune, and that means be controlled by Krishna practically. And again, it's a loving control. So So this control it's a guidance. So similarly, Krishna, just as the mother will say, don't touch the fire. So Krishna will similarly control us or guide us. In other words, he will give us intelligence of how to guide ourselves or how to be guided through this world in a successful way. So in this way, he's controlling us by guiding us as the super soul, as Krishna. And if we accept this guidance, then ultimately we have no problems and our life is successful. So this is the process that we have to accept the guidance, and not just of Krishna. We just say, oh, Krishna's guiding me, I'm a super soul. Prabhupada, there was Charnamrita in Los Angeles, and some Mataji, she put salt in it instead of sugar. So if you put the same amount of salt as you do in sugar in a preparation, you can imagine it just like it's just horrible. So Prabhupada, he was there and they served Prabhupada Charnamrita Prabhupada and it was salty. So then Prabhupada, he called that disciple and right there and he said, this is foolish, you shouldn't have done this. And then she said something that wasn't good. She said, oh, well, everything's Krishna's will, everything, I was inspired by Krishna type of thing. It must have been meant to be. And Prabhupada said, no, it wasn't Krishna. Wasn't Krishna's will. It was your foolishness. It was your mistake. So, we can't just say, oh, I'm just inspired by Krishna. Okay, but your inspiration from Krishna, maybe it's from Krishna, has to be confirmed with who? Who would you say it has to be confirmed with? Sadhu has to be confirmed with sadhus and has to be confirmed with guru and scripture. So I'm inspired to dress, Krishna as Santa Claus with a beard and a nice hat, a red hat, and okay, fine, but that you could say that's Krishna inspiring your heart. Okay, but where is that in Shastra? What do the sadhus think about it? What does the guru think about it? What would Prabhupada think about it? What does Narada Muni say in the Pancharatra Pradeep? Does he say, yes, in the month of Kartik or in the month of whatever, September, you could dress Krishna like Santa Claus? Of course, Narada Muni didn't know about Santa Claus, but he wasn't around then. But so in other words, it has to be confirmed. In this way, we can be guided by Krishna, and then ultimately, we will see Krishna, as it's going to be explained in the next few verses. We will see Krishna face to face. All right. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay.
You're talking about this acceptance of guidance. And in order for one to accept guidance, they have to have the courage to accept that guidance, which obviously requires strength of heart, strength of will. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how to develop this strength of heart and strength of mind and will.
I don't know if you're asking the right person.
I think
well, this idea of one of the most important things in Krishna consciousness is just not to give up. Because in Kali Yuga it's very easy to give up. Everybody gives up on everybody. Whether it's your sister or your brother or your mother or your father or your son or your daughter, wife or husband especially. Everybody gives up very, very easily. Relationships and therefore people feel isolated, people feel lonely, people are suffering, right? The anxiety rate of people's anxiety is going up all over the world in depression because people, they give up too easily and they're not educated. So the first, you could say, step in Krishna consciousness is to hear the message of the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Hare Krishna mantra. And then to become educated, right, and know, okay, Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana. What is this world? Who is Krishna? Who am I? What is the process to attain the goal? And what is the goal? Krishna, consciousness, or pure love for Krishna. So once we were educated, we could, in this way, you could say, properly start moving in the right direction. Because people are determined, but what are they determined to do? Make a lot of money with the stock market, so many things. So we have to be determined in Krishna consciousness. So one important, you could say, aspect of that is to associate with devotees, but also not just, you could say, on this realm, but to read about them. Therefore, reading about Prabhupada, because if you read about Prabhupada and other devotees like that, then they will give us the courage, they will give us the strength to move on, right? Najayate mirite vakadacha. Not even an ordinary person dies, what to speak of great spiritual personalities. So by reading about them, we could be inspired simply by reading. And what to speak, we try to follow. So, of course, due to our karma, some people may not have such a strong mind, or they may struggle with certain things. Or some people, they just don't have the piety to have the determination. So really, we could say so many things, but ultimately the soul has to, you could say, build up their piety. The soul has to suffer a lot, maybe, to come to the point of surrender. But you could say for those who leave some piety, some built-up credit, these are some practical ways, taking shelter in kirtan. It is Kali Yuga, so we have to take shelter in kirtan. And also take shelter in the acharyas, because they know. How? Do you have anything to add, Dravida Prabhu?
Well,
My question was, maybe talking about guidance with us.
oh, yeah. So it's a good point that you should read about, and learn the lives and the glories of our acharyas, but especially Prabhupada, because when whatever we do, if we're thoroughly convinced, you have to be thoroughly convinced that they're not dead. Just as Krishna is, obviously, if you believe the philosophy, he's watching us at every moment, he's watching. But so is Prabhupada. So the meaning, what I get out of that is that because the transition from when Prabhupada was on the planet to when he wasn't. Of course, you weren't there for that transition, but it was very much stressed and also felt when Prabhupada was actually walking on the planet and building up the movement and listening like a lot to his lectures. It was always being played in temples and everything. That this idea that we think every day. Chi Guru Charana Rate Ese Utama Gati. Gati there being the means to the goal, just like it is in the last verse of the Gurvastika. That, which unfortunately I think in the translation doesn't come out. There's another problem with that translation. That affection or attraction for the lotus feet of the spiritual master, in other words, affection for the Guru, is the best means of advancement. Now why is that? Because even on the ordinary plane, if you have affection, this is how the world moves. I mean, families, the fact that there are families, in which the wife or the husband are sacrificing with the kids and the wife is working because she loves the husband and the husband. That makes things go on. Now, of course, it's imperfect and that it often turns to dust. As you said, the relationships are so messed up in this age. But really, that's what moves people. Not just greed for money, that's demonic, but actually affection. So, we had, Prabhupada, how did things go on in the beginning? Because Prabhupada was able to establish a loving relationship with the students, and they really wanted to serve him and please him. Krishna was mysterious, and no one knew much about anything. But Prabhupada was, exuding this love for everybody. So when you read about Prabhupada and about his relationship with devotees, and you realize, oh, everything that we have here was built up, and is really a result of his efforts, and he's personally present, and he definitely wants it to be sustained and to prosper, and books to go out, and temples to be made, and devotees to be made. Then your actual service that you do has a personal aspect to it. It's not just that you're working because you have to do it and so forth, but there's this overarching element of doing it to please the spiritual master, Prabhupada's spiritual master and his representatives. So when you feel Prabhupada's presence in the temple and in the service, and certainly in the books, the words that we're reading, I mean, he's everywhere. Then your enthusiasm grows because you have faith and you have confidence that this is the right path, and that you've already had some experience how, yes, chanting Hare Krishna and giving this up and associating does produce a change. And so it helps you maintain your faith in the authority. It's all faith in the authority, beginning with Krishna and his representatives. And so that hearing and chanting and absorbing oneself in Prabhupada's books and glorification keeps you enthused about your devotional service. And that is the substance. We were just reading last night. Vyavasaya Atmaka Buddhi. Were you in the class last night? No. You missed it? Okay. So we may bring it again tonight because it's so important, or on Monday. But Prabhupada makes the point there that accepting the order of the spiritual master, as well as life and soul, is like the engine of devotional service, and having determination to serve it as best as possible. So when that becomes out of focus or doubtful, then that's when all this confusion arises in your own spiritual life, in the movement, whatever. When the flow of authority becomes blocked, then the faith is damaged, and when the faith is damaged, everything can be destroyed. So I hope that helped.
Yep, I just want to say one last quick thing that, also drew to nice points. Also the idea of reading Prabhupada's books, and I was thinking that we have to let Prabhupada convince us. Because once one is convinced, then yeah, they're convinced, they're not going to give it up. Convinced means you're not going to give it up, no matter what. You may have problems, you may not have problems. The world may explode, it may not explode, but you're not going to give up Krishna or Krishna consciousness. That means be convinced. So we have to let Prabhupada convince us by reading his books in a very humble, attentive, receptive way. Not just reading, but humble, attentive, receptive way. So, all right, Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.